Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today is no exception. We have a great guest all the way from Pattaya in Thailand. Welcome to the show, Bert Mulwitz.
Thank you very much. I'm living here part-time, and I'm from California, actually originally in New York, and I've been in real estate since 1972. So
Love it.
I just began. Yeah.
It's beautiful to be able to do that. That's one of the blessings of being in the world of real estate investing is that you live where you want to live and invest where the numbers make sense. Those don't have to be the same place. And that's
right.
The beauty.
Well, I've invested mostly in about 7 states and mostly income property.
Fantastic.
Did a condo conversion, and the largest one, if I could just mention, it's the largest one. I bought a $5 million building for no money down, and after negotiating some debt, one of the debts was with the government, actually, FDIC. I got the cost down to under $3 million, but I started out at $5 million with zero money down. It was recently sold for $25 million. So that's the largest one. But most of them have been like 30, 50 units, 80 units in 7 states.
Fantastic. So today you're able to work a little bit location independent, and you're active in the world of essentially buying and selling apartment complexes and doing it creatively, which I love because that's often structure can trump just, okay, I've got a great deal. The structure often does define the deal. It's not just the underlying property. What are some of the things that you look for that would say, all right, I'm actually interested in pursuing this discussion a little further?
Well, you have to get to know the value. If you're going to buy and sell or keep, you have to know all the moving parts of a building. And I don't always trust what another broker is showing me because he's just anxious to get the listing. And I want to go through all the numbers. So I do due diligence on whatever it is to make sure whether I keep the building or resell it, that the numbers are accurate. But I have bought and sold a lot of buildings, bought on Monday and sold on Tuesday, or actually did double escrows. So in the beginning, in my 20s, that's primarily what I did. The longest time I've ever owned something is 5 years. That was in Texas.
There's no right or wrong. Some people are collectors of real estate. Some prefer to transact. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just what fits your wheelhouse better. When you're unlocking value in a property, are you seeing that value is there, essentially playing the arbitrage game, kind of like if I can buy shares of this company on New York and they're cheaper or they're maybe priced a few cents higher on London, I'll just flip it a few minutes later on the London exchange if it's priced a little bit more than it is on the New York exchange.
I would say I did it the hard way because I didn't always have a buyer ready to buy from me. I'll tell you, really something, I don't like to admit too many mistakes, but I very rarely called the last buyer that I sold the last building to. And I still don't know why I didn't do that. I just put another ad in the paper. I bought buildings out of the newspaper, not just cold calling, and put it back in the newspaper. But I have to know what is the value today and what it could be if you, obviously, to all your investors, they know what they have to do, right? There's no secrets. Raise the rents, make it look better. There were a few times that I buy a building, there was nothing to do. I just thought, oh, this is worth a lot more. But I do know you have to show people the potential. With rent control, it could take obviously a lot longer. People buy out leases, especially in California. You may give a tenant like $30,000 because you look at the math, it may take you 5 years to get it back, but the rent is like maybe a third of what it should be. So there's lots of ways to increase the value. And if you point that out to an investor, he might pay, if you find the right one, who more than you're actually paying. So as far as reselling it goes. But I think probably 90% of investors are buying it to keep for long term. Obviously, they get equity built up on the loan. So you own it for 30 years and went way up as far as the last 50 years I've seen that. There's been cycles. People complain about 6% interest because it was 2%. I was paying 15% in the early 80s. So 6% sounds pretty good to me.
It's hard to make the numbers work at any level when the rates are that high.
Well, it had to adjust because buyers wanted the bottom line, and it wasn't selling at 13 times the gross income. I might have been selling it 6 times.
Right.
It's all based on the bottom line. This is what it costs. Obviously 60-70% of it is your cost. I mean, your loan. I used to
Absolutely.
buy buildings about 25 years ago, we were borrowing 80% on apartment buildings, which was unheard of. Certainly now it's unheard of. You usually have to put up about 40% for it to at least break even. So
Yeah,
got to
especially in
learn
those
all.
markets that are more expensive and they don't necessarily have the rent growth available to them.
Well, a lot of people in, let's say, Beverly Hills, have you ever been to
Yeah,
LA?
yeah, yeah, many times.
Could be 15 times the gross. The cap rate could be three. Pride of ownership.
Yeah.
And if you own it long enough, you'll make money. Didn't buy in those areas. I bought C buildings in C areas because there was always room for improvement.
Certainly one of the things that we're seeing in the current market is with a lot of new supply being injected into many primary markets, there's oversupply in that brand new Class A product. And if you look at where the majority of the absorption is, it is certainly in Class A, some in Class C, and what is getting squeezed actually is the B class product. What has been the traditional mainstay of many of the value-add investors who say, okay, I'm going to take this building, it's in a good area, I'm going to add washers and dryers, I'm going to add captive internet service, I'm going to juice the rents, and today it only works in Excel but not in the real world because it's getting squeezed from both sides. Are you seeing that as well?
Yes, I have. Primarily, I've done C, but I wasn't doing anything a little higher than that. But I know what you're talking about. Incidentally, I know we talked about this before, but I do provide a service to evaluate if somebody has a transaction or is offered something. However, it could be a relative of theirs or a broker. I evaluate things and we work out deals. Maybe I would share in some of the profits or even put up money to share in buying the building. So that's why I want to mention, if I can, with your permission, my website is Burt, B-U-R-T, like Burt Reynolds, BurtMentor.com. And I'd be happy to share my thoughts and give people evaluations. Maybe it's their first time. I mean, I don't know if your clients, or they may see a big property. Maybe it's not their first time. I've done a lot of 1031 exchanges. So I've done 100 transactions, probably more. That's the only ones I can remember, though. I can draw upon those experiences to help people if they're interested in buying or selling something. I mean, I have a broker's license since '76, not one complaint. That's something to brag about, not one. If you Google my name, because I do it a lot, to see, is there anything negative about me? Must be something, not nothing. So that's something to be proud of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as you're looking at the market today, obviously there's downward pressure. Capital costs have pushed valuations down in many respects. There's been a lot of cap rate compression. If you think back to the pandemic era when folks were hiding behind their N95 mask, today a lot of those folks are being exposed as having overpaid. And with that downward pressure, are you seeing opportunities? Are you seeing deals, or are sellers still asking too much?
There's a discrepancy between sellers and buyers that I've seen for the last year. But a lot of these buyers, it depends upon the terms of their loan. If they pay 2 or 3% and it's going to recap someplace, they're going to have a problem. So they either have to sell it or do something, because maybe it's not going to remain at 2 or 3% their loan. They may have to refi it. So, and then pay whatever, 6 or 7. And there's a lot of big properties that I've seen that too, all over the place.
So those folks that are selling don't want to sell, they have to sell.
I would say they're mostly motivated. Yeah, I've had people say to me, well, I want to see what Trump does. And they have problems maintaining the building and they don't have enough money to fix it up. And there's a very fine line between the slumlord type of situation. I do have a funny story, if I could just inject this once. I'm at a party and opposite Paramount Studios. And a lady said to me, I just started talking to a nice lady. She says, I own a 66-unit building right here across the street. She says, but I owe more than it's worth. So I'm underwater equity-wise. So I politely said, well, then why don't you just give me the building? She did. She quitclaimed the 66 units to me. Well, the next day I went to collect the rent and the manager handed me all this money. And then I left and I called him back. I said, why would she deed me the building even though it's underwater, which made sense if that's her only reason. He says, that's not her main reason. She was the president of a corporation and the city was looking for her because she was a slumlord. Now, what, in your opinion, your experience, what would you do? I have title to the building and I don't even know how many things are wrong or what it would cost to fix. Okay, so I'm asking you, like, if you were in my class, what would you do? You own the building.
Well, I guess, I mean, you've always got a mix of assets and liabilities, so really you need to figure out where you sit on that. Sometimes the liability can be greater than the assets.
Well, I didn't have enough time to inspect it because it happened
Right.
quickly, but I acted on impulse, and to this day, I don't know if it was the right decision. I said, if I go to the city and say, I own this building, they're going to say, well, that's good. You got to spend $1 million to fix it up, right? Or then what? Okay, and maybe I didn't want to do that. So I called her up. I said, that wasn't very nice what you did. I said, have a good time. Take care of your building. She said, well, no, you own it. I said, go look at the records. I cleaned it back to you because of what you did. That's a crazy story, right? That was true. So I could say that I made a mistake. I should have gone to the city. I should have called the lender, do this, do that. But kind of like a panic attack. That's what I had.
Fascinating. Well, I know that area. My brother actually lived across the street from Paramount Studios.
Is it Van Ness Avenue?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my gosh. Maybe you lived in my building.
It's
You're
possible.
Kidding.
Did it have like a kind of a beige stucco facade?
Oh, I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but it was facing Paramount.
Yeah, there was a wall for the compound right across the street. Yeah.
It was on the east side. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's
could have been the same building. Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be very funny. Ask him if he remembers the address. I could probably find the address, whatever.
That's hilarious.
That's one of the craziest stories I've ever done, really. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Bert, if folks want to connect, if they want to learn more, what's the best way?
Well, I don't know. I'll give you my phone number or my website. I have nothing to hide.
Go for it.
Can I do that? All right. My phone number, and you could use WhatsApp. That's what I use mostly, if you can do that. Or actually, it's a local number, and you don't have to pay to call me because it works all over the world. 310-922-1175. I'll repeat. 310-922-1175. And my website is Bert Mentor, all one word. I'd be happy to talk with you at no charge if you have anything that you want to learn from a rather experienced person. It'll be fun too, not just informative. I like to have fun. So
fantastic. Well, Bert, great to connect. And for the listeners at home, definitely connect with Bert Mulwitz at bertmentor.com. The links and the phone number will be in the show notes. And in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.